Welcome to Rash Thoughts, a podcast about life and all its wonderful challenges. Get ready to change the way you think about yourself and learn why the world needs you. Dean Rash will share his life, his thoughts, and his vision for making our world better for future generations. Now, here is your host, Dean Rash.
Hey, how you guys all doing? Greetings and welcome to this week's podcast of Rash Thoughts. My name is Dean Rash. I am your host, and these are my thoughts. First thing I'd like to do today, I want to put a shout out to a friend of mine, Chris, and his company, Full Scope Creative. Full Scope Creative is actually redoing my website right now, and they do phenomenal work. And I want to thank Chris for that. And if you need some website help or you're looking for some website hosting, where he does some secure hosting, you can always contact Chris at Full Scope Creative. Search for him on the internet, fullscopecreative.com. So I want to thank Chris for that. The other thing, too, just a reminder, if you're looking for a keynote speaker, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to your group and help them out and encourage them and inspire them to do some really cool things in this world. You can reach me at dean@deanrash.com or check out my website, deanrash.com. So this week, I thought I would take on a little bit of a different topic. Kind of in the same genre, talking about some of the stuff that I've gone through and where I've been in my life. But I'm looking around the internet, and I look on LinkedIn, and I look on Facebook, and I look on Twitter, and everywhere I turn, somebody's got a list, right? Somebody's got a top 10 list of this or a top 5 list of this, top 5 reasons why you can't get skinny, right? Top 10 ways to find the best flavor of ice cream, top 147 places you must visit before you die. I mean, it seems like everybody's got a list, and I'm thinking, do we really need to have a list for everything to help us get motivated and move in the right direction and inspire us to change? I mean, at some point, isn't some of this stuff just really common sense? Like, hey, just go to work, commit to yourself, believe in yourself, do something positive. But I thought, even though I'm kind of bad-mouthing the list thing right now, I thought, maybe I'll just put together my own list, okay? And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking top 5 things that my journey through cancer taught me. How about that one? There's a list. So the top 5 things that I learned from a business sense that I was taught by going through treatment for cancer. And the first thing I want to say is for those of you people out there listening that have cancer, have battled it, have won, congratulations. Be proud of yourself. Be happy with what you've gone through. I know it's, honestly, there's no better way to say it. Cancer's a shitty thing, no matter how you slice it, right? It sucks. It's a terrible message to get. It's a terrible thing to have to face. It's a sucky thing to have to fight. But if you've made it and you're out the other end, be proud of that. Be proud of the fact that you did things that other people didn't do. And we always feel for the people that didn't make it. Right? The people that lost their battle, I feel for them every day. I lost my mom. I lost my grandpa. I lost a good friend of mine. I've known a lot of people that have passed away because of cancer, and I feel for them every day. But for those of us who have made it, we got to be proud of that. Man, we did something that fortunately most people don't have to do in this world. And for that, I'm grateful that I took the journey. I wouldn't change anything about it, but for what it's worth, be proud of that. So what did I learn? And how do I apply what I learned to business, right? I thought, so I'll create this top 5 list. So here's my top 5 list. Number 1, courage. And I'll be honest with you. When people talk about going through cancer treatments and telling me, oh, you were so courageous, I don't look at it as courageous. I look at it as I didn't really have a choice. There was no option. It was, you have this, here's your treatment if you want to live. There is no option for that. So I didn't always think of it as courage, but in some sense, I guess it is, right? So even though I don't feel as if I was courageous, the fact that I faced it every day and the fact that I met the challenge and the fact that even though I pissed and moaned sometimes, and even though I got frustrated and I broke down, I still did what I had to do to get through. And from a business standpoint, if you're going into business for yourself, it takes some courage. It takes some fortitude. I mean, you got to have some guts to say, I'm done with security. I'm done with just earning a paycheck. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this for myself, and for my family. I'm going to make this happen. It's not for the faint of heart. Business is not for the faint of heart. I always tell people, you get two options in business. You get to be successful and make it, or you get to go out of business. It's kind of your only two. I mean, yeah, you can flounder around in the middle there someplace, but at one point or another, you're either making it or you're not. That's it. So it takes some courage to do that. Absolutely. The other one, number 2 on my list of top 5 here, number 2 is humility. Now, humility is kind of interesting because when you're a cancer patient, if you're any kind of hospital patient, there's not a lot of stuff you can hide, right? They're going to come into the room and they're going to ask to see things and poke things and investigate things and measure things that you didn't think were supposed to be done. Because when you were growing up, you were told that's not appropriate. In the hospital, unfortunately, sometimes it is appropriate. You know, they're going to ask you questions. They're going to give you medications. They are going to take samples. They are going to measure things that just don't seem right. You know, and I told this story the other night at a speech I gave, and it's hard to set up, and it's true, unfortunately. It's 100% true. What happened to me is my doctor was on vacation, and so we had a team of doctors that was actually helping out, and they had come into my room, and they went through the normal process. They asked all the questions. They checked all my output measurements, and then they asked me, "Did you have a BM today?" And I just looked at him and I said, "No, I didn't." We went through the same process the next day and the next day, and every time they asked me about a BM, I said, "Nope, haven't had one." After they left on that third day, I asked the nurse, and I said, Can I ask you just a simple question?" She said, "Sure, go ahead." I said, "What is a BM?" And she kind of smirked at me, and she goes, "Are you serious?" And I go, "Yeah." Well, she goes, "It's a bowel movement." And I said, "Okay. I'm not sure what that is either." And she goes, "Have you pooped?" I said, "Absolutely. You've been giving me suppositories for 3 days now, and I have the runs." And she goes, "That's what they were referring to. They kept giving you suppositories because you told them you weren't pooping." I said, "Why can't you guys just use plain English?" So simple little questions like that. Humility, right? You have to sometimes be so humble, honest, vulnerable, innocent that you ask just simple questions that don't seem like they're relevant. You know, they seem like they're they might be silly, they might be embarrassing, whatever, but you have to do that. When you're in business for yourself, you have to be able to be open to learning, to finding out new things, to asking for help when you need it, because being in business for yourself, man, that's a lonely way of making a living, right? You are on an island, and it seems like everybody's out there trying to get you. So somewhere along the way, you have to make some connections, and one of the ways to do that is to be humble in who you are and asking for help when you need it. But also, don't forget, return the favor, all right? You must return the favor for this to work properly. The third thing I have on my list is strength. Now, strength kind of comes into that same ballpark as courage, right? Except that I think strength is one of those where even though you're courageous about it, you have a choice of either you're quitting or moving forward, especially in business, okay? And it takes some personal strength and some personal conviction and belief in yourself to really move forward even in the toughest of times, all right? It's a decision. It's not a process. It's a decision. It's I'm going forward, period. There's a story about samurai soldiers. The samurai soldiers were fearless. They only wore armor on their front. They didn't wear it on the back. And the reason for that is they always moved in a forward direction. And I think when times are tough, it takes courage and it takes strength to keep moving in that forward position, right? So strength is a big part of it. Now, when I look at cancer and going through those treatments, strength isn't something we thought we had, but it was something that we developed through time. We developed strength because of what we were going through. We developed a way of handling situations, very difficult situations, in a manner that allowed us to survive. And a little bit of that is kind of like business, right? You learn ways to kind of handle the situation to survive, but you always move forward because, the old cliche says only the strong survive, correct? Now, the fourth one that I put on my list was compassion. Compassion, very simply, my grandma told me when I was in the hospital, she said, no matter how sick you are or how bad you think you have it, there is somebody out there that's worse off than you. and they need your help too. And so I always thought about that. I was basically on my deathbed at one point, and I remember my grandma telling me that, and I'm thinking, how can this possibly be true? And then there was a woman in the room next to me who cried a lot, screamed a lot, was always yelling for help and things like that. And I remember the room being quiet one day, and I asked the nurse how she was doing, and she informed me that she had passed away that night. And I felt bad. And it was true. Even though I was as bad off as I was, there was somebody with a greater struggle. And I need to remember that and be reminded of that every once in a while, because that helps me understand that even though I might be in a bad spot either it's in my personal life or my business life or whatever it might be, there's somebody that has it a little bit rougher, and I've got to go out of my way to help those people too. Even when I'm down and out, I need to find a way to help them. You think about that in your business, you're going to run into situations where, maybe you have an employee that has a personal event happening that really disrupts who they are as an employee for that moment because of what's going on. If you face that situation from a standpoint of compassion, and you help that individual through that, can you imagine the type of employee that you have? Somebody who's committed to you because of what you did for them. And we're not doing this to gain anything off of somebody. You're doing it because you're being human. You're caring. You're compassionate. You want your business to represent something bigger than just making money. And that includes going out into the communities. Be involved in your communities with your businesses. That compassion goes a long way. Find a cause that you can support. One of the things I learned is having compassion for others. Even though I was as bad off as I was, I understand today how important it is for me to help other people, because so many people helped me when I went through my illness. They didn't know me. I didn't have an impact on their life at the time, but they definitely had a major impact on me. Now, the fifth thing I added in here was vision. Now, vision's kind of an odd one to put in from a cancer standpoint, but here's what I'm thinking. I always had my eye on the prize, right? And my eye on the prize was, I'm getting out of this damn hospital, I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to live. Period. Simple, direct, to the point. I was on a mission, right? I was getting better. I wasn't quitting. I wasn't dying. I was moving forward. Same thing for your business. Have a vision. Decide who you are as a core piece of your world. What is your business all about? Who are you? Get a focus to it. What kind of customers do you want to work with? Have a purpose and a plan and a vision of who you are and where you're going to go, and look down the road 5 years. I looked out 2 years because I was told if I can make it 2 years, they have no idea how long I can survive. But in those first 2 years, they also told me that over 75% of the people will not make it. So I had a vision, and that vision was, I'm making it 2 years to the unknown, because when I get to the unknown, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's more positive than what the known is. If you can't make it to 2 years, you don't get another shot. Look at your business. Look out 5, 10 years. What is the number? They say, 75% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but look at 5 years and go, boom, that's my mark. I'm getting to the 5-year mark and I'm going beyond. Get a vision, and in that vision, define what type of business you are, what type of business you want to be, what type of customers you want to work with, how you're going to treat your customers, how you're going to treat your employees, what is important to you as an organization, right? Get all that stuff created. Make that stuff a big part of who you are, and live it, breathe it, communicate it to everybody that you know. Let them know this is who you are. So when I look back at going through leukemia and the treatments that I went through, I had some huge lessons that were handed down to me, not because I was looking for them, but because I had to go through it. I had to move forward. I learned courage. I learned humility. I learned how to be strong. I learned how to be compassionate for other people. And I created a vision for myself, a vision that said, I'm going to live, I'm going to survive, and I'm going to thrive, because I had stuff that I wanted to do in this world. And today, I'm doing it. And one of the things that I love doing is I love coming into businesses, and I love helping owners put together their vision for what they want to be, and helping them understand how compassion is such a big part of who they are and what their business is, and how to be strong, how to have humility and be humble in who you are and what you're doing, and how to help other people out, and how it's a game of courage, man. I'm telling you. Business is not for the faint of heart. Like I said earlier, you get two choices. You either succeed or you fail. That's it. Cancer treatment, you get two choices. You either live or you die. So with that, I want to thank you. Thank you for listening to me this week. Again, if you need some website help, give Chris at Full Scope Creative a call. And until next week, I want you to take this information I gave you, maybe create your own list. Send me your list of top 5 this or that's. Maybe there's a top 10 ice cream number out there that I don't know about. But anyway, send me that stuff. But until I talk to you next week, I want you to keep living your life on purpose.
Thank you for listening to Rash Thoughts. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and to follow Dean on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Help us change the world by liking and sharing this podcast so others can be inspired too. If your company or organization is looking for a speaker, contact Dean at dean@deanrash.com or visit his website, deanrash.com.